It is now officially spooky season, and I finish Voice of Cards, The Beasts of Burden. Every week I make a video detailing any video game news that interests me because although Nico and I play a lot of games, he tends to be pretty oblivious to news about them, while I'm pretty obsessed with it. So here's everything I think Nico should know about in game news the week of October 2nd, 2022. First up, notable releases. The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero released on PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and PC on September 27th. Picross S8 released on the Nintendo Switch on September 29th, and Valkyrie Elysium released on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 also on September 29th. The Entertainment Software Association is teaming up with ReedPop, known for organizing events like PAX, and has announced its plans for the Electronic Entertainment Expo, or E3 2023. It is returning as an in-person event at the Los Angeles Convention Center from June 13th through June 16th. The first 2 days will be industry only, the third day will be for both industry and consumers, and the final day will be for consumers only. I've always wanted to go to E3 or some other big game industry event, but to be totally honest, the idea of going to something like that on one of the consumer days sounds pretty horrible. I've gone to a few very large nerd conventions, and you spend most of your time waiting in crowded lines and not really doing much of anything. Not really worth it to me, and yet I still wish I could go. Unfortunately, flying across the Pacific Ocean for this is not in the cards for me right now, so I'll just watch the streams and videos. If you want more details on their plans for the event, check out the link to the blog post in the description below. Well, I'm starting to think that it wouldn't be a mom news video without a game delay announcement, and I certainly don't want to disappoint. See what I did there? Hardy har har. Anyway, Ubisoft has delayed its pirate game Skull and Bones again, this time to March 9th, 2023. It was originally announced in 2017, and it has now been delayed no fewer than 5 times. I don't know how to feel about this at this point. There's a part of me that is now wondering if this game is going to be any good. And then there's the other part of me that thinks that I'd rather have a company delay a game if it means that they're going to get it right. Both sides could be accurate, but I hate that the first option is probably more likely. Check out Ubisoft's official announcement at the link below. So if you're into video games, you have to be living under a rock if you didn't hear that Google is shutting down its cloud gaming service Stadia on January 18th, 2023. They have suspended all sales of Stadia hardware and games and will be offering customers full refunds on hardware and software. The snarky side of my personality... Wait, do I even have a non-snarky side? Anyway, the snarky side of me wants to say, I told you so, or this comes as absolutely no surprise to me. First of all, Stadia wasn't even available in Hawaii because Google couldn't guarantee its ability to function properly using the internet available to us. For reference, when I play online games, I usually have a ping of around 60, which is pretty average, I think. If you're on the mainland, I can already hear you saying, oh my god, how can you even play like that? We just do. We all do. They did some special techie stuff specifically for the Overwatch League when it came here, in case you're wondering, but that isn't something that your average household has access to. Second, Google is notorious for just ending services. I'm still bitter about Google Reader, and that was shut down almost a decade ago. Did you know that there's a site called killedbygoogle.com? I didn't until today. In any case, the messed up thing is that Google didn't tell anyone they were planning on doing this. Multiple developers were blindsided by the news when they read it at various game news outlets. What a way to find out that all the time and resources you've been spending on making your game are now going to amount to nothing. And while there are some people on the internet saying that these developers shouldn't have been surprised, that's unrealistic and quite frankly unfair. When you enter into any kind of business arrangement with another company, there's a certain amount of good faith that is generally present and expected. Any business relationship has risks, but when you're doing business with a huge company like Google, it's reasonable to expect communication at the very least. Thankfully, other companies such as Ubisoft, Bungie, and IO Interactive are working on figuring out how to get game saves over to PC. I've said it a million times, and I'll keep saying it. Although things have definitely improved over the last decade or so of gaming with regard to platform flexibility, I still fantasize about a time when I can play any game on any platform without worrying about losing progress. I imagine it like Star Trek. It won't happen in my lifetime, but I hope future generations of video game enthusiasts don't have to worry about stuff like an entire platform shutting down. You can read the blog post from Google at the link below. And because I don't want to end the video on a bummer, the writing team at BioWare has shared some codex entries from their upcoming game, Dragon Age Dreadwolf, in a blog post called Writing Our Worlds, linked below. News bits about the new Dragon Age game have been few and far between, so Dragon Age fans tend to be pretty thirsty for any bit of news they can get their hands on. I am absolutely one of these fans. I will admit that I am also thirsty for the Dreadwolf himself, but admittedly I have unusual taste in men. What I love about the Dragon Age series is the lore and the storytelling. While player choice in narrative games is ultimately an illusion, BioWare has always been one of the absolute best at making the player forget that. The blog post itself actually focuses more on the writing process and how it's integrated into the game than the actual codex entries themselves. Given how narrative-focused this series tends to be, it's a very interesting read. You should definitely take the time to read the whole thing. And that's pretty much it for game news this week. I did learn that the release date for Scorn, you know that creepy H.R. Giger-inspired horror game I mentioned last week, is getting pushed up a week, so the opposite of a delay. I'm definitely planning on playing this for spooky season now. Join me again next week for more news and adventure. Until then, play lots of games and have an awesome week.